How we doing, team? Preseason video 2 of our group training session. Tonight, specifically looking at the logistics of how these Wednesday sessions are going to operate. I'm going to stick to 5 minutes, so I'm going to dive right into it. Odanna Hills, Wednesday night, 5:30 to 6:45. Every session will start with a drop-in 3v3 game. And what that means is that as each player arrives, they will join a field randomly. And so players who arrive earlier, maybe they arrive at 5:15 or 5:20, I'll have the field set up and they can start a game as soon as we get 4 or 6 players. And more players keep arriving and more games are starting as players arrive. I think this will encourage players to arrive a little bit early and make sure that at 5:30 each week we are starting on time and the girls are jumping and having fun right away with a laid back, again, street ball style game where the coaches are staying out of it. We're just letting them have fun and enjoy that time with their friends. We'll divide into 3 groups. So we will have the U10s will get their own space, and then we will combine the U9s into 2 more groups. So the 4 teams will make 2 groups. Janet and I were talking about calling these sister teams, and we can discuss that idea collectively to see if this would bode well for sharing players for games or tournaments where maybe we're short players, and just building some relationships or reconnecting with some of the teams that were split apart from last season. Individual skills progressing into our small group activities, and then we'll finish with our large scrimmage of varying size, and I'll discuss that in just a minute. So this is what it'll look like each week as the players arrive, and it's a ton of cones. For those of you who have been out to Odanna Hills, this is essentially the setup. One field orients this way, one field perpendicular to it there, and the parking is on a road right over here. So we would fill up these fields first so that we don't walk across other people's fields while they're playing. Then we'll fill up these fields and then these over here accordingly. And again, that's just randomly set up based on how people arrive. I will be directing traffic to make sure we just set up a central location over here, likely between the 2 fields for water, so that everybody has a central location for that. From there, we will have a water break after the 3v3 practices, and then we'll divide into our 5 teams. So one team will take these 2 fields, these 2, all the way around. The U10s will get this space over here to themselves. Then we have phase 2. So for this activity, for this session, we're going to be looking at just removing 1 cone. This is something to keep in mind for your training sessions, is how you can fluidly move from one activity to the next. Thinking about the entirety of the session as you lay it out with cones, or even as you choose which activities you're going to be doing, which ones can transition well together so you don't have to pick up and put down a lot of cones. So this will be super fast. We will pick up those cones, we'll combine these 2 teams into this space, likewise these 2 teams into this space for this week's activities. And again, the U10s are on another field off to this side. For phase 3, we just move a few cones, and so some of our coaches that will be assisting with these sessions will be able to help during the previous activities in the unused space. But all we're doing is taking that pre-existing goal that was here, and we're putting 1 cone out in front of the other, and this will create the end zone, which is required for the 3rd activity on our first group training session. In the next video that I put out by next Tuesday, I'll have it to you. It'll be a detailed account of what we're doing in that session, speaking to the coaching points of what it's going to sound like, what messages to reinforce, and a little bit more about the flow of a training session in general. So this is what phase 3 will look like on all of the fields. And then we're going to conclude with our final scrimmage. So we could use the whole space. That would be, I think, overkill, especially for our first training session. That's going to be huge for these girls to even play 5v5 or 6v6 on half the field. There'd be a ton of running. and probably turn into a lot of walking and standing. So what I think would make more sense would be to set up something like this, which is just combining the two fields. I did take back that extra space in the middle, and again, coaches could stand in this space here, helping to keep the ball from going onto another team's field. So that's the essence of how our group training sessions will flow, a little bit different each week. If you notice on the email that I sent out, it does have 1 week where we'll do like a scrimmage tournament, and that's in preparation for your first game. But otherwise, a similar format to what you just saw. I didn't make it in 5 minutes. Looks like I'm coming up on 6 minutes, but it's pretty close. So hope that helps lay the foundation for where we're headed, and look forward to sharing the next video with you and some more details. Have a nice weekend. See you soon.